Mid-side processing is one of the most interesting ways that you can manipulate audio. And today we're going to take a look at some different techniques that you can use to help elevate your music. And we're going to organize it from easier techniques to more advanced techniques so that there's a little bit in there for everybody. So let's jump right in. The first thing I want to do is just quickly go over how you can set up mid-side processing. So just open up a utility. I've just got one stereo audio track here that we're going to be applying the processing to. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this width mode. I'm going to right click it and I'm going to switch it to mid-side mode. Okay, and then I'm going to click this utility, press Command G, and you can see that this little hamburger icon down here will allow you to create more layers on this audio effect rack. So this one I'm going to call mid, and we're going to drag that all the way to the left to make sure that it's 100% mid. And then I'm going to press Command D, duplicate it, and call this one side because it's going to be dedicated to the side channel. So now we have one mid, one side, and we can process them differently, which is kind of the whole idea. Okay, starting off with level 1, what I would recommend you do is play around with the level of the side signal in relation to the mid signal. So in this case, you can make it sound wider by actually bumping up the side signal, or you can make it sound narrower by taking it down. So let's take a listen to what that does. So this can be a really nice way to just increase the width of your mix or your master in this case. And I would recommend being pretty subtle with this, maybe like 1 or 2 decibels max. So you could get something like this. So now for level 2, we're going to get a little bit more intricate with how we apply this mid-side processing. Instead of raising or lowering the level of the side signal, we can actually apply a little bit of processing. Like we can add an EQ to the side signal and change how it sounds. And that's pretty useful in different scenarios. So let's pull open just a regular EQ here and make sure that it's in the side signal here. There's a couple of different strategies that you can approach. One of them is to just bump up the brightness of the side signal. So you can just add like a shelf, which is really nice to add 1 or 2 decibels and just make that width a little bit more sparkly. Let's take a listen to what that sounds like. I'm gonna just add a shelf here. And if you don't know what the shelf looks like, it's this sideways Y looking thing here. Another strategy we can use is to actually high pass the side signal instead of just using a high shelf and increasing that upper end sweetness a little bit. What I like to do sometimes is actually use a high pass filter. So if I take away this shelf here and we add a high pass filter, and let's actually just solo the side signals for a minute. Sometimes there's quite a bit of low end information in the sides, but really a lot of the low end should be focused in the center. So you can kind of clean up and clear up that stereo mix a little bit if you just apply this high pass filter here. So let's go ahead and do that. So if you're hearing some kind of problematic, maybe some keys or some bass lines that are sounding a little bit like there's too much information in the side signal, you can actually high pass it a little bit and even combine the two strategies where you add a little shelf there as well and really brighten up the sides just a little bit. Again, I would suggest being a little bit more subtle with this, so not 5-6 decibels, but maybe 1 or 2. As we move into level 3 here, a little bit more advanced, what I'm going to be doing is taking a drum loop and applying some compression settings that are different in the mid signal compared to the side signal. And this can be advantageous when you want the side signals to pop a little bit more. You can have a slower attack, and then the mid signals you can crush a little bit harder with a faster attack. So let's take a listen to what that might sound like with a drum loop here. Kind of an old school drum and bass groove we got there. I'm gonna go ahead and add my favorite compressor, which is this glue compressor from Ableton, kind of an SSL style compressor. What I'm looking to do here is keep a relatively fast attack. So you can see that I have it on 1 millisecond here, and I'm gonna kind of bring the release down a little bit here and leave the ratio on 4:1. And then we'll hear it start to kind of compress as I bring the threshold down here. Bring the makeup up a little bit. Now, let's take a listen to the sides as well. And what I want to do with this one is we're also going to add a glue compressor, but I'm going to bring the attack to as slow as this compressor offers, which is about 30 milliseconds. I'm going to bring the release pretty far down as well, maybe about 200 milliseconds, and I'm also going to leave it at 4:1 here. Now, let's see what this sounds like as I bring the threshold down. And so now if we take a listen to what it sounds like together, you can kind of hear that the side signal is now poking out a little bit more, which is increasing our sense of width a little bit here. So if I play the same thing and I bring the attack all the way down on the side signal, it changes how we perceive the width. So that attack amount really matters a lot. All right, now for a little bit more advanced technique, what we're gonna do is apply some side chaining differently with the mid signals than with the side signals. And there's some pretty interesting implementations of this creatively for songwriting, but also for mixing as well. So let's take a look at that. So let's say that we were working with this song here. You can hear that there's no side chaining being applied inside of this synth that we have here. What I'd like to do is have the mid signal pumping hard with the kick, but then have the atmosphere of the reverb and the delays doing something much lighter. So you can kind of get this interesting pumping sound with the effects being much more present. So let's pull open a compressor and place it on our mid signal here for our synth. And I'm gonna bring this ratio all the way up to infinity so that it's basically limiting the signal. And I'm gonna press this little caret and we're gonna make sure that side chain is activated. And then we'll go to our kick here. So now it's pumping real hard. And now let's listen to everything together and you'll hear that the reverb and delays aren't being affected at all by the kick. Now, we don't want to leave the side signal out, so let's also add a little bit of side chaining to our side signal here. So I'm going to do the same thing, but this time we're going to bring the threshold up and we're going to make it a lot more subtle here. Something like this maybe. Because it's still kind of nice to have a little bit of pumping so that everything's kind of cohesive, but there's still that heavy pumping on the synth. You can also do the opposite too, where you have the atmosphere being pumped really hard, but the thing in the center, the actual synth itself, is relatively unaffected by the kick. So if we switch our compression, this is what it might sound like. So a couple of different approaches there that you can try out. Along the same lines as this too, there's another really great technique that you can use where you duck the frequency bands that are clashing with one another in your mix using mid-side. If we had some vocals like this over the top of our synth, like I do right now, like I do right now. So you can hear that there's a little bit of frequency clashing with the synth and the vocals. And so it'd be nice if we could find a way for them to play off of each other a little bit more clearly. So what we'll do here is open up a multi-band compressor. I'm using the Ableton stock one called Multi-Band Dynamics. Very similar to how we set up the sidechaining for the kick on the synth. I'm just gonna click this caret, I'm gonna go to sidechain, and then I'm gonna select the audio from our vocals here. And what I'm also gonna do is I'm gonna press this sort of power looking icon of the high and the low frequency band, because we only wanna focus the compression and the ducking when the vocals are coming through. I just have the mid band selected here. I'm gonna solo it and I'm gonna adjust these filters until it kind of focuses on the region that's clashing the most with the vocals. Like I do right now. Now let's unsolo this mid-frequency band, and I'm gonna press this tiny little A on the bottom right so that I can adjust the compressor settings for the mid-frequency band here. So we just need to increase the ratio so it actually applies some compression. We use something like this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play this and bring down the threshold until I see some gain reduction being applied here. Like I do right now. You can see there's little blue numbers here on the bottom left that shows that there's some gain reduction being applied. You can also just listen with your ears as well, but just for verification. And then when there's no vocals, you'll notice that there's zero compression being applied. I'm gonna bring this way down so you can really get a sense for what this is doing. Like I do right now. Like I do right now. So obviously you don't want to have it that low for the threshold, so you can bring this kind of back up to a normal level. And now if we unsolo the mid signal and we listen to how it jives with the vocals. Like I do right now. Like I do right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed all of our easy to advanced levels of mid-side techniques, and there's lots of stuff that you can do too, so feel free to explore and get creative with how you apply some of these techniques. And as always, if you have any questions, please let me know down below. I'm more than happy to answer, and happy music making. We'll see you in the next video. Take care. Peace.